Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast, Hospitality Edition, where we're digging into the challenges, successes, and the stories of social media community professionals in the industry, just like you. Subscribe to gain valuable insights that you'll be able to apply to your own work and social presence from each and every episode. Now, imagine a world where your hotel social media presence isn't just a checkbox on your marketing list, but a powerhouse driving bookings, guest engagement, and brand loyalty. Picture your restaurant's Instagram feed, not only making mouths water, but also filling tables night after night. Envision a digital strategy where every post, every tweet, every reel translates directly into measurable ROI. This isn't just a dream, it's the reality that savvy hospitality brands are creating every day with the right social media tools and strategies. But how do they do it? What are the secrets to turning likes into bookings, followers into loyal guests, and social media buzz into bottom line results? Today, we're going to crack that code wide open. We'll explore the essential platforms that are revolutionizing hospitality social media. We'll uncover the tools that can transform your digital presence from good to extraordinary. And we'll learn how to measure success in ways that truly matter to your business. To guide us through this digital landscape, we've got an expert who's been at the forefront of hospitality marketing for years. Joining us is Eddie Garrison, a digital marketing maestro with a passion for the hospitality industry. Eddie's helped countless hotels and restaurants navigate the complex world of social media, turning online interactions into real-world success stories. From leveraging user-generated content to harnessing the power of emerging platforms, Eddie's insights have helped brands large and small maximize their social ROI. He's here to share his wealth of knowledge, practical tips, and insider strategies that can elevate your social media game and drive tangible results for your hospitality business. Hey, Eddie, welcome to the show.
Well, first of all, greatest intro I've ever had in my entire speaking career. Thank you so much, Mike Alton, and thank you so much for having me on the Social Pulse Podcast, Hospitality Edition.
My pleasure. You're just going to have to bring me down to Orlando for PodFest when you're speaking in January, and I will gladly introduce you.
Oh, please do. Please do. I mean, I legitimately live like less than a mile and a half from where the event is actually taking place. So I can almost see it from here.
Right. So I appreciate you coming on here because we've known each other for a while. I've known about your work in the industry, and I've known for a while. I need to get you on this show and share some of your insights and your experience. So could you start by just sharing your perspective on what I would call the current state of social media marketing in this industry?
Yeah, I look at it twofold, Mike. One, that there are people that understand the power of social and digital marketing, and especially social media platforms, to help build their brand awareness, to help actually drive bookings, be that put heads in beds, put butts in seats in restaurants, or even book transportation. Because a lot of people don't realize that hospitality just isn't hotels and restaurants. It's bars, it's event spaces, it's transportation companies. So you have the people that understand the power and the reach that social and digital marketing can do for their hospitality brand. And then you have the others, very similar to what you touched on in the opening, where it's just a checkbox for their marketing campaign. Now, the hospitality brands that are maximizing and utilizing social media are seeing more bookings. They are seeing more guests. They're seeing more dining reservations. Their buses and vans are full of people trying to get to these hotels and restaurants and event spaces to actually host their conferences, their events, their mastermind groups. And there is a huge separation, and you can see it in the content that they post. You can see it in the copy that they post, and you can just see it when they have somebody that says, oh, I've seen these job postings before where it's like, we want a front desk person and marketing manager. Those two do not go together at all. So the ones that actually bring on someone, maybe like myself, that has a track record and in the niche of hospitality specifically to run their social and digital media marketing campaigns, those are the ones that are beating out everybody that's just relying on OTAs, which just stands for online travel agencies. Those are the ones that are seeing direct bookings come from digital and social media marketing. And those are the ones that are seeing the higher end and more reservations coming into their restaurant, because they understand how to leverage and utilize the power of social media marketing.
And you're absolutely right. There's a lot more to this industry than just hotels and restaurants. We did an entire episode earlier with Glenn Hausman talking about events, right? And event venues. And that's important to keep in mind, not just because of who we're talking to as brands working in the hospitality industry, but the businesses in this industry need to understand that they're more than just the one thing that they might think of. If you're a
Correct.
hotel, that means you have event space,
That's
and you
right.
can be catering to businesses that looking for those kinds of venues. So that's great, a great reminder to keep in mind. What are some of the other misconceptions in hospitality, particularly when it comes to things like social media ROI in this industry?
One of the biggest things that I run into is everybody gets caught up on the I in ROI, which everybody knows stands for return on investment. They think the investment is only monetary, and that's all they want to see, and that's all they care about. I'm paying you, thousands of dollars a month to do this, and how are we know what that I is? How do we know what the return on our investment is? Well, the simple fact is the investment part can be one of threefold. Yes, the investment can be the monetary value, but how about this? A lot of people don't understand that. Let's just say that you're a marketing agency and you charge $5,000 a month, right? So $60,000 a year to partner and work with these hospitality brands. Well, now they're like, well, we have somebody that can do that. Why can't they just do that? Again, it goes back to having someone at your front desk trying to run your entire digital and social media marketing campaign. They're like, well, why don't we just hire you as an employee? Well, candidly, you can't afford me, right? The last job that
Yeah.
that I had was well over $200,000 a year, because I'm not going to be your director of marketing for 45 grand, and that's what I see. So a lot of people, the investment part again comes back to those threefold. It's going to be the investment, yes, of the original income that you see from your investment that you put into social and digital media marketing. The investment could also be time. I am selling you back the one thing that you cannot get more of, and that is time to run your business. And your business runs on your guest satisfaction. So if you're worried about chasing these trends and trying to learn how to post on Twitter 20 times a day, or what the newest algorithm shift is on LinkedIn and Facebook, you are neglecting your actual money makers, your revenue drivers, who are your guests. The investment, again, can come back to knowledge. Are you investing into your own knowledge plate? Are you reading the books? Are you listening to the podcast? Do you know how the Facebook algorithm works? Did you even know there was a Facebook algorithm? Did you know the Instagram algorithm is different? Did you know Reels is better than Stories, and Stories on Facebook don't work and only work on Instagram? All these are huge misconceptions, but everybody, especially in the hospitality industry, the wall that we come up against with that return on investment is, okay, I'm paying you $5,000 a month. When can I expect to see that return come back in the form of revenue? And when I say when they expect it, they mean they want it the next day. And that just doesn't happen. So as a marketer, not even in the hospitality industry, but just a marketing in general, you have to be able to educate and be very clear and open with your clients to be like, okay, we're spending this on this amount. We're doing this amount on Google ads. We're doing this amount on Facebook ads. We're going to track these. We have KPIs that we're looking for. We're trying to drive more people to your booking site to stay off OTAs. We're trying to get people to book more, spa treatments while they're here at your hotel. So educating them, being clear and open with them about what your KPIs are. And this may mean monthly calls. This may mean weekly calls, but that's how we combat everybody's stress over that investment, which is on the return on investment, which is always coming back to monetary value.
I'm glad you mentioned KPIs because we're definitely going to get back to those
Right.
in a moment. And I loved how you stressed putting the customers first. We had a terrific conversation with Mike Scott from Potter's Resorts
Mhm.
earlier in the show. And he was sharing the story about how during the pandemic, like every other hotel, they're a hotel, a resort in the
Mhm.
southeast side of England on the coast. And like every other hotel in the pandemic, they had to shut down, right? They had to
Right.
send all their guests home, turn guests away, and they had 80% of their booked guests say, "Keep our deposits,
Mhm.
keep our money. We'll come back when you reopen." And if you
Nice.
think back to March 2020,
Mhm.
nobody had any idea when
No.
or if anything would reopen. So that was a
Right.
tremendous amount of faith. And it was all about their focus on community and giving back to their community. They have a metric that they use to track that, their customer success score, that they're hitting 99, 100% over and
Nice.
over and over again. And that shows in the value and consistency of their business success. You also talked about a bunch of different platforms, which I love. So that's what
Mhm.
I want to talk about next. You talked about
Right.
Instagram and Facebook and so on.
Yes.
In your experience,
Mhm.
which social media platforms today seem to be delivering the best results for the brands in this industry that you're working with? And why do you think that is?
Right. So I look at it with each of these platforms comes a very specific audience. So the content that you would post, say on Facebook, may not resonate with the audience that you're trying to target on Instagram. And what I mean by that is Facebook predominantly has a little bit older of an audience. So, say people that are 35 plus, or maybe even 40 plus. I'll go with 35 plus. Where Instagram is more of the younger people, the Gen Zs, the millennials, and I guess alphas. I can't keep up with all these different ones, but they're going to see a predominantly younger audience. And a platform like TikTok is even younger than them. So brands, especially hospitality brands, when they're creating their content, calendars, and they're creating their marketing strategies and their campaigns, need to be very cognizant of what target audience they're trying to pinpoint with that content, more along the lines of what they're going to post on certain social media platforms. Now, obviously, Facebook is the granddaddy of them all right now, in the social media platform space. And people are doing research on Facebook more than they're doing research on Instagram. So you may have a little bit longer form content on Facebook that dives into a little bit more brand awareness and saying, did you know this? We have this, we have that, we have a spa here. Did you know you could get 20% off at the spa if you book more than 3 nights? We're on Instagram, especially with the uprise of Reels, and you say over the past 2 years, people that on that target audience want more quick and concise content. They need more eye-catching content. And I am not a firm believer in the attention span is becoming shorter with the youth and just everybody in general. I don't believe that whatsoever. I believe their attention span is less when the content doesn't resonate with them. And the one big thing, it doesn't matter if you're posting on TikTok, it doesn't matter if you're posting on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If your target audience, if your potential guest cannot see themselves in the content that you're producing, they're going to scroll right past you, find the hotel or the restaurant that has somebody that looks like them, sounds like them, acts like them. They're going to get the booking over you.
I could not agree more. Attention spans aren't less, patience is less.
Correct.
And it's really key that a marketer understands that there is a difference between attention span and patience, and it's all about
Yes.
intention. So if we're focusing on, creating, vertical video content for Reels and TikTok and story content and that kind of thing, what are some tools that you can recommend either for those tactics or others that hospitality social media managers in particular really need to be using and aware of?
Right. And I'll talk about short form video content because I've been on a big deep dive of this lately. If anybody follows me on my
I have
social media,
noticed.
you see a lot of short form video content from me. Now, I graduated, one of my undergraduate degrees was in graphic design. So I've worked in Adobe for 24 years. I'm very comfortable in their environment. I'm very comfortable with their platforms. So when I'm filming short form video content on my mobile phone, I use Adobe Premiere Pro Rush. Now, if you are not trained in graphic design and video editing, things like CapCut, the apps like CapCut, Videorama are two of my favorite ones to use. They're very intuitive. They're very easy to use. And a lot of them actually have some kind of pre-made templates and cuts that are going to be eye-catching to your audience. Now, when it comes to video content, yes, the video quality matters, but a lot of people, if they can't hear you on videos, they're not going to stick around to watch you. So you can go out and buy a $60,000 RE or Red camera, all the lighting, the best Sennheiser microphones, everything. If you don't have that good quality audio, it doesn't matter what the video looks like, but it does need to be eye-catching. They need to understand what you're actually looking at. So yeah, I like the quick cut video types that is real eye-catching and what I would consider thumb-stopping content, but don't have a cut every 2 or 3 seconds. People, and you have to be cognizant of also, you don't know the physical limitation or the mental, capacity of somebody that could trigger something in their physical health. That could trigger a seizure, that could trigger something in them that actually physically hurts them or leads them to harm. So you have to be very careful of how you put this stuff together. Loud music, big sound effects, you kind of want to stay away from those. Yeah. And I know everybody wants to jump on the trending audio so they can get more reach. But if you're reaching the wrong audience, reach isn't really something that I look at. I want to reach the right audience. But yeah, as far as when it comes to short form video content, again, if you're not a trained video editor, or even if you are and you just want something more simple, CapCut, InShot, and Videorama are probably the top 3 that I use. And if you do have a mobile phone and you're doing it, I highly recommend looking at an app called Filmic Pro, and it's Filmic Pro, and it basically turns your mobile phone into a DSLR or a video camera, where you're able to actually do different things with the exposure and the ISO, and you can actually change the color pattern of your phone with a CMYK wheel. So with like the where you're able to adjust the coloring of your phone, where your mobile phone camera doesn't have that capability. So, and this is a paid app, obviously, but if you're going to be doing a lot of video content from your mobile devices, Filmic Pro is one of the best apps out there to do so.
And we'll have the links to all of those apps in the show notes, so you don't have to try to remember exactly what Eddie just said. But that's great advice. The other thing that you said without really focusing on it, so I want to underline it, was the fact that you were using your phone.
Yes.
And today's, iPhones or Pixels or whatever phones you have in your pocket are just so amazing. I just got
Yes.
my 16 Pro finally
Mhm.
upgraded, and the camera is just amazing. I don't need to have a DSLR to walk through a property and take
Nope.
amazing film. The first episode in this entire series was with the social media manager for MGM Grand in Vegas, and that's exactly what he's doing, is spending a little bit of time every week
Mhm.
walking the lots, filming, if nothing else, b-roll, right,
Yes.
that you can work into other kinds of videos that you're doing. If you want to do have a video about an event that's coming up, have some great
Mhm.
b-roll of the property that you can work into
Exactly.
that video. So those are great
And
advice.
most people wouldn't even know the difference if you filmed it on an 8K camera or a 4K mobile phone. They're just not going to know the difference, because most people don't have 8 and 16K monitors that are watching it on. Most of your target audience is watching it on a mobile phone. So they don't care if it's shot in 8K. They just care that it's getting the point across, that they can see themselves in the content, and they want to come stay at your hotel or eat dinner at your restaurant.
Right, right. So speaking of audience, let's talk about how brands in this space can actually use their audiences. How
Yes.
does UGC content play into that? How effective can it be? How can we use that to boost our social media ROI?
Yes, user generated content, unfortunately, is the most underused piece of content in the hospitality industry when it comes to social media marketing. And it's funny because it's free. Somebody else is doing it for you. So you don't even have to create it, it's already created. And what better way to get word of mouth marketing than using somebody else's content that took the time to post pictures or videos about your hotel property, about your restaurant, about your event space, than someone that's actually stayed at your hotel or ate at your restaurant. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care if you hired the best marketing agency in the world that has the best CMO and the best digital content creators. Nobody cares what the hotel says about itself. No hotel stands on top of a mountain and goes, "Everybody, we are pretty good." No, nobody cares about that. Every hotel, every restaurant's going to say they're the best. They've got the best beds, they've got the best sushi, they've got the best pizza. Your target audience, your potential guests, care about what other people's experience at your property have been. So when somebody takes the time to post a video or a picture or even a customer testimonial on Google or Facebook or wherever they have it, use that user generated content to actually form your own word of mouth marketing from these people. Word of mouth marketing is still the best marketing. Again, your friends are going to believe your friends over the restaurant. That's what they're going to do. The restaurant's going to say they're the best, but they may not be the best. Your friend may have had a great experience and you didn't even know about it, and now you do, because the restaurant is scouring, the social media platforms, or they should be, because they could use something like Agora Pulse to do social listening. And yes, that is a shameless plug for everybody here, but the social listing component of Agora Pulse is great, because you can put keywords into find, and they're going to see when everybody is talking about your hotel, everybody is talking about your restaurant, because a lot of people aren't savvy enough to know how to tag you on Instagram or how to tag you on TikTok or any other social media platform. So you have to proactively go out and look for this content. But again, user generated content is the digital form of word of mouth marketing. And like I said in the beginning of this kind of semi rant about UGC, is you should be using it. It's so underutilized in the hospitality industry. And I want to jump back to something I said in the beginning of this show, is if you look at people, they want to see themselves in the content. Because if they're a family of four, they don't want to see two 18-year or two 21-year-old girls drinking in the pool bar. That's not them. That's not the family vacation they want. But if they see somebody else's family that's of similar age, maybe even the same race or economic background or whatever, they see them enjoying the pool. Then all of a sudden they're like, hey, this isn't a photo shoot. Mike and his family are at this pool at Disney. We want to stay there because we saw how much fun they were having. So UGC, user generated content, is this generation's version of word of mouth marketing.
Love it. So if you're a brand and you're using Agorapulse and you're surfacing some posts that people have made about your brand, and to your point, yeah, a normal consumer who's going to a restaurant or they're staying at a hotel or attending an event, they're not going to care or certainly not be savvy enough to tag that brand. So you need to
Mm-mm,
have that tool in place, that
you do.
listening. Can you simply share to your own social profiles that content? Are there any rules or stipulations where you might need their permission? You might even need to compensate them for using it a certain way. How do you approach that with your clients?
We approach it in a couple of different ways. If they tag my brand or the brand that I'm working with, to me, that is giving us permission to use that.
Mhm.
They're actively seeking us out. They're tagging us. They're putting us in that location pin. And that, to me, I find it very ethical to just be able to repost that. Now, if I'm looking around, Instagram, and I see somebody that doesn't tag us or tag the brand that I'm working with, I will reach out to them directly to ask them if I can use that picture or that video that they posted, and always tag them. Obviously, they're on that platform. They may not be on Facebook, but always give credit. Now, it gets a little bit more tricky if you're talking about minors and pictures and things like that, because a lot of people may not want, yes, I know they posted a picture of their kids, but they did that on their own accord. They may not want you to use their children's, and I'd use this term lightly. I don't mean exploit them, but exploiting their kids and their likeness to help
Yeah.
promote your brand. So if there are minors, and I know that can be kind of difficult to ascertain the actual age of somebody just at an image, because some people look older, some people look younger. And again, so just reach out to them, ask them, and say, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for allowing us to use that picture. Here's 15% off, or here's a $20 restaurant, credit the next time that you visit our place. So just make sure that you do have permission if they didn't tag you in it. But again, I still think it's ethical marketing if they tag your business in a post, that you are able to use that to promote your hospitality brand.
That is terrific advice. And one tip I'll give you all for free: if you're not at that point yet where other people are consistently posting about your brand, your venue, whatever the case might be, and giving you those opportunities to share, you can set up a situation like that. I've got a friend who's a marketer here in St. Louis. She was working with a farm that does, pumpkins and those kinds of things. So a couple of years ago, they had my family and I come out along with half a dozen other families, and they had a photographer on place, and they just gave us free admission
Mhm.
and credits to get pumpkins and treats and those kinds of things. And they just created content
Mhm.
while we were there. They worked with us. They used us basically as local influencers. So that's something else you all could do if you're lacking that initial kind of thrust of user generated content. Folks, we're talking with Eddie Garrison about social media tools and tactics that are particularly effective for hospitality brands like yours. And in a moment, we're going to get into some specific strategies, more platforms, and trends. But I'd like to take a moment now to share with you one tool in particular you need to add to your arsenal to ensure you know what's working and what isn't.
Actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with Agorapulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to Agorapulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to Agorapulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action.
So, Eddie, regardless of what industry you're in, we all want engaging social media content. We want to see that our audience is seeing our posts, that they're liking and commenting, and they're demonstrating that they're interested in that content. It makes them more likely to see content in the future. It makes other people more likely to see those posts. So that's all great. But how do we turn that engagement into actual bookings? Right, for the business, because at the end of the day, we need butts in the seats somehow.
We
What are some
do.
of the strategies that you found most effective for converting that kind of social media engagement into actual business results?
I'm going to share what I have. I helped work with them. I didn't help work with them directly, but I actually helped work with their marketing department, and it was a hotel chain here in Orlando. And there's a thing in hospitality, especially in the hotel industry, in the hotel space, where they want direct bookings over OTA bookings. And OTA just simply stands for online travel agencies. Now, when people book through an OTA, they're probably seeming like they're getting a better deal. And they are, the people that are booking are most likely getting a better deal, but there's so many fees on the back end, and they're undercutting other, they're actually undercutting the hospital, the hotel property. So hotels want direct bookings because they're going to see more of the revenue come in directly to them. So when you're looking at creating your content calendar and your marketing campaigns, and I'm just going to keep going with this specific example of a hotel, offering your guests something in return for booking directly on your website. And this particular hotel was called Avanti, and they've got or Avante. They have a few different properties here in Orlando. And if you were going to book directly on their website, they were giving those guests a 20% off to their spa, or they were giving them a $20 meal voucher to dine in their own property restaurant. Now, this does a couple of different things. One, it's enticing the potential guests to book directly with them because they feel that they're getting something for free, even though that's probably baked into the price of the room. But obviously, that's back end.
Yeah.
We don't need to tell them that. But if they look and say, oh, well, it's the same price as if I'm booking on Google, or not Google. It's the same price if I'm booking on Expedia, but I'm not getting a $20 or 20% off coupon for my wife to go to the spa. I'm not getting that $20 food credit. So I'm going to book on Avante's website directly and get that discount. And again, it may not even really be that much of a discount, but people like to think that they're getting something or getting over on the company. So being able to have an offer in place is going to help drive those bookings. Now, I like to tie in those offers with what we just discussed about user generated content and that word of mouth marketing in the digital age. So when you do that offer and these people are checking in, and while they're at your hotel, they're going to say, hey, we stayed at this hotel. Check it out. We got a free $20 to eat. They're going to post that on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and people are going to see it. You can repurpose that into user generated content. Hopefully those people are going to leave some sort of review or customer testimonial on Google or on Facebook or wherever. You can then create a graphic for that, post it, on all of your socials and say, hey, Mike Alton said that they couldn't believe that they got a $20, free meal voucher, and that helped pay for breakfast every morning for their kids before they went to the theme parks. And that just becomes shareable content. It becomes, again, that word of mouth marketing for your brand, because all you're doing is offering them something there. Now, if you do something like the $20, meal voucher, a family of 3 or 4 is going to spend more than $20 anyway. So yes, you may sacrifice $20, but if you could say, I'm going to give you $20, but they're going to book for 5 nights, and now they're, instead of not staying at our property, all we had to do was give them $20 and they booked 5 nights at $250 a night. I will gladly take and give somebody $20 if they give me 1,000. So, having some sort of offer, a valuable offer, one that is almost instant, right when they check in, it's going to be great, because what that does is you gave them $20 one time. Now they're staying at your hotel and spending $1,000 for the stay, but also they know how convenient the restaurant is. So that $20 now turns into every day they're going to breakfast. You only give them that one $20. It's not every day. It's just one $20 meal voucher, but they see the convenience of it. Then it's going to drive more revenue for your hotel, because they're going to be dining in your restaurant instead of leaving your hotel to go eat at some quick service restaurant and giving them their money. You want to keep as much money on your property as possible. So any of these value-based offers that you can do on the front end, it's actually going to help you generate more revenue on the back end once they book directly with your website and not an OTA's website.
That last point was huge. I'm so glad you stressed that they're keeping additional money on property. So instead of somebody leaving the property and spending money elsewhere, yeah, you get a $20 discount, but the rest of that ticket is the restaurants or the
Correct.
hotels or whatever the provider might be. Now we've been talking a lot about like Facebook and Instagram. Are there any other platforms or emerging social media platforms or trends or features that you think hospitality brands in particular should be paying attention to?
I do, and I don't necessarily believe there's some like new platform out there because let's face it, Mike, all the platforms basically do the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram and they all have basically the same features. It's just you're targeting a different audience on each of those platforms. A few things that I want to talk about is in the hospitality industry, it's not just about the consumers. Hospitality businesses also need employees. They need team members. They need allied partners. So something like LinkedIn newsletters for these like marketing directors or food and beverage managers, they need to leverage a LinkedIn newsletter. And the reason I stress those and love these so much is it actually creates 4 different pieces of content for you. So you post it as a LinkedIn newsletter and it stays under your newsletter. Then it's going to create a post on your main feed on LinkedIn. It's then has the capability to send that link to a direct message on your LinkedIn contact list. And everybody to subscribe to your newsletter on LinkedIn had to put in their email address, or their email address is tied to the LinkedIn account. It then sends them a notification in their email that you just posted a new LinkedIn newsletter. So by doing one thing on LinkedIn once a week, you're actually generating 4 pieces of content, not only on LinkedIn, but you're getting right into their email inbox as well. Now, when it comes to creating content on these different platforms, again, you have to realize that the audience differs from platform to platform. People on Instagram don't want these lengthy, copy heavy based posts. They want images. They want short form video content. Instagram is a visual platform. Make it as visual and splashy as possible because we want to, get back to that thumb stopping content. Facebook, on the other hand, you can go a little bit more lengthy on the copy. Try not to do it too much, but you can go a little bit more lengthy on the copy. And again, it's going to be more research based on Facebook. You always want to drive them. You want to give them awareness, but you always want to drive them off the platform. As much as we all love social media, as much as social media gave the world at our fingertips, you still want to get your potential guest off that platform and onto your own real estate as quickly as possible. Blog posts. Top 5 things to remember when you visit Disney. Top 5 things that you know that you can't bring on airplanes. Anything that's going to be very educational based and very brand awareness based, that is longer form content, is going to really, really work on Facebook. Short form content, visuals are killing it, obviously, on Instagram because that's a visual platform. And everybody knows the uprise of TikTok. But again, here's the thing too, when you have to realize you're marketing to all of these target audiences. Mom and dad may be paying for the vacation, but the 12, 13, and 14-year-old kids are on TikTok. So if they see your property on TikTok and they know that they're about to go on vacation in Orlando, they're going to be searching Orlando and they're going to see all these videos pop up. So you want to tailor that content to the younger generation, the kids of the families that are doing the research on Facebook. And little Bobby or little Susie is going to run up and go, Mom, Dad, look at this pool at this hotel. They're probably going to jump on Facebook and look at the hotel, and this content works symbiotically across all of social media platforms. So just be very conscious about the audience that you're targeting with your content. It all needs to work together, but in the end, it needs to be about brand awareness and driving those people to your website as quickly as possible.
That all makes a ton of sense, particularly your last point. My 13-year-old is sending me reels all the time. A new ride at Cedar Point,
Exactly.
a new drink or something that's available now at Hogwarts, at Universal
Right.
Studios,
Yeah.
right? She knows about
Butterbeer.
these things, and yeah, and all of that is obviously a push to me to send
Yes.
her and bring her to those locations. But to your point, you've got people looking at this content, people of different ages,
Mhm.
different demographics, different platforms.
Mhm.
How do we know what's working? How are you measuring the success? How are you measuring the business impact of all this social media activity?
KPIs and data, data, data. If you are not living in your data, when you hear marketers stand on their soapbox and on Preacher's Corner and they say, listen to your audience, do you know what we really mean? We're listening to our audience through the numbers, through data. Agora Pulse, again, the reporting in Agora Pulse is like unparalleled. It gives me so much insight into what's working, why it's working, and how it's working. Because I'll hear a lot of people say, oh, well, if I post a link on Facebook, they're suppressing my reach. No, they're not. That's just such a marketing myth. I can't even believe that it even exists anymore in 2024. If somebody finds your content appealing enough to click on it, they're going to click on it. If they don't, they're not. It has nothing to do with the algorithm. The algorithm isn't a person. The algorithm doesn't have feelings. The algorithm runs on data. It runs on numbers. The more people that engage with your content, the more people are going to see the content. Now, if you're looking at your data and you want to see how something is performing or if something is doing what you intended it to do, you need to know the overall goal of that piece of content. Is it to actually drive bookings right then and there? Because honestly, social media isn't going to do that unless it's a restaurant, maybe like in a real, not a reel, but like an Instagram story that says book now to receive 20% off. But you can track that because you can use a UTM, or you taking them to a landing page so you can see where all these clicks come from. So if you go to your UTM tracking system, which Agora Pulse has, or if you go into your backend on your website and you see the landing page has 500 hits today and 375 of them came from your Instagram story, you pretty much know that, that campaign is working. And then you see them get to your website, and from those 375, you got 100 bookings to your restaurant. That's a pretty good conversion rate from just posting a quick little story on Instagram. So being able to know where your data lies, being able to understand and interpret these analytics into what piece of content is working, again, why it's working and how it's working. And you have to track that, export that report, print it out if you have to. A lot of people like to print it out, be able to circle things, highlight things, and you need to look at that monthly. Don't stress over the data the next day that you post something, because it hasn't got time for people to engage with it. And again, the algorithm feeds on data points. So the more people that are commenting, the more people are sharing, the better that piece of content is going to perform. So you need to look at it at least at the end of the month. And let's just say that you post every other day, and most months have 30 days. So you're looking at 15 pieces of content. You want to look at the top 3 and the bottom 3. The top 3, money. You want to replace the bottom 3 with content more like the top 3. You keep doing that month over month over month, and all of a sudden your content is just going to be performing exponentially better, because guess what? You're listening to your audience, and the only way that you can do that is through data and analytics. Yes, that's the boring side of the marketing business, but actually to me, that's the most exciting side, because I actually get to see the content that we created if it's working, and that gets us excited to go make more content. And here's the flip side to that. When I see the content performing poorly, I actually get more excited, because it drives our focus and determination better to go create more content that's going to perform better and ultimately drive more revenue for these hospitality brands that we're representing.
That's fantastic advice. And friends, I've got a link that I'll put in the show notes to a free webinar that Jen Herman and I did. That's all about all the different
Jen.
ways that you can drive traffic from Instagram and track it. Because we know that's one of the hardest platforms to drive anything from, but you can track everything if you know how to do it. So that whole webinar will walk you through step by step how to do that. Eddie, we're almost out of time, but I was hoping you could share, just as our last question, an example of a client that you've worked with where you guys have been able to together craft some social media campaigns and actually significantly improve their social media ROI, whatever tools or platforms you used. I'd love if you could share that with us.
Right. I'll tell you one, and actually I cannot name the brand. I wish I could, but it's a very large company that a lot of people would know that have a mouse as a mascot. But so we won't say the specific name, but we were able to put together a social media campaign that was driving brand awareness, but driving brand awareness in the form of checklists and ebooks to help you plan a better vacation. Now, you might say that seems so boring, and why do people want that? Well, in this day and age, people are scouring the internet to try to find all these tips, because coming to a major city with theme parks like Orlando, where I'm based out of, it costs a lot of money. And guess what? There are a lot of people here. Last year alone, almost 100 million people visited the city of Orlando. And I guarantee you 80 to 90% of those were coming here to visit our theme parks. So being able to be top of mind when you're talking about people coming here to Orlando, that you want them to stay at your property. You want them to dine at your restaurants. So putting these guides together, and then once they download the guides, I know this isn't actually technically social media, but there's nothing more social than email marketing. We were able to put together email drip campaigns that were like, this is what we were talking about. Here's the number 1 step. Here's the number 2 step. Here's the number 3 step. And it was just this constant drip campaign. And what we did on the back end was we were watching the click-through rates and the open rates of these emails and which ones that they were actually opening more than once. We took that data, we flipped it back over onto social media and started to turn those into short form video content with the same overall goal of driving people to the booking websites or the booking restaurants or to book a restaurant or to book bus transportation or private transportation. So the data, it all comes back to data. So the data that we were getting from the open rates and the click-through rates on the email were guiding us down a path to what content people wanted to see more of. So we started creating content from what we saw the people clicking on and reading more in the emails. And that started to drive more engagement on social media, which in turn drove more website visitors, which in turn, in the end, created more hotel bookings, created more restaurant bookings, and more revenue for these hospitality brands.
That is such a terrific example. I love that omni-channel approach
Yes.
to marketing and bringing in the data. And you're absolutely right. Whether we're talking about a night out of the town or 5 nights in someplace like Orlando,
Mhm.
it's a significant investment of money. It's
It
usually
is.
not something that's budgeted as part of a monthly budget, right? You got to plan ahead for that sort of thing. And if you're
Yep.
spending that kind of money, you want to make sure you're investing it well and you're not wasting your time or your
Exactly.
money
Because if you're
having
wasting
those
time in
checklists are
places
great.
like this, you're wasting money.
Yeah, yeah, and you're wasting opportunities,
Yeah.
right? Which is why my wife makes sure we're at rope drop every single time.
I get the benefit of living in about 4 miles from Disney, so I don't have to rope drop anymore. But
Yeah, I don't have that. I'm in St. Louis,
yeah,
Missouri. It's a
that's a
special
heck of a
occasion for us
commute.
to get to Disney. But Eddie, this has been an absolute treasure. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
you
you.
so much. For those who want to learn more, maybe they want some help from you. Where can they go to reach out?
Obviously, I'm Eddie Garrison on most of the major social media platforms. My hospitality marketing agency is called Clover Media Consulting. So it's just, www.clovermediaconsulting.com, and be more than happy to, if people want to direct message me on Twitter or Instagram or any of the social media platforms, I'd be more than happy to discuss anything hospitality marketing with you.
Terrific. Thank you, Eddie. Thank all of you for listening today. We have everything that we talked about in the show, all the links and apps that Eddie mentioned in the show notes. Don't forget to find Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition on Apple and leave us a review. I'd love to know what you think. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by AgoraPulse, the #1 rated social media management solution. Discover more at agorapulse.com. Enjoyed the episode? Please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Your feedback drives our content.